Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we're going to be talking about Ripple and XRP. So sit back, relax, and before we fully jump on into this video, I do just want to ask guys, could please leave a like on this video. It does help the channel grow immensely. And of course, I always do greatly appreciate that. Now, with that being said, we are seeing a lot of alt rotations happening right now, specifically Zilliqa up 39.34%, 52.20% on the 7-day span. Even, Convex Finance also pumping a little bit. On the 7-day span, we are seeing massive rallies across the board for some altcoins. This is getting very interesting very fast because, we are seeing a massive amount of capital flowing throughout this market. And, I do believe that Bitcoin is going to have its Bitcoin season. I know everyone thinks that Bitcoin is in a bear market. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that we've seen the Bitcoin top. I think that we go to 100K plus this year. And that is actually very good, and we should be cheering that on. I know that from an XRP standpoint, we shouldn't, right? XRP is the chosen one. But that's not the case. That's not how I look at this market. I'm not biased towards just one asset in general. I think the more money that flows into Bitcoin and even Ethereum, the more money that will flow through our altcoin market as well, which is very good for some higher potential assets like XRP to hit the high tier targets of its fib levels, which brings us to like around $30 at the high end. Now, with all of this in mind, let's watch a few things and let's talk about a few things. So first off, I seen this posted earlier yesterday, and I do think that this is providing us a little bit of a serious in-depth view on what can happen with this lawsuit. Does it need to go through the SEC? And that is the big case here. Listen closely to this.
Along the lines of what DAI might say, which is that the world is all a stage. Yeah. I just wanted to ask, is there any connection or could there be any consequence to the executive order coming out in a definite, we got the guidelines on the executive order. If something came out definite in terms of the executive order in crypto, could that be something that impacts this case?
I looked into that a couple weeks ago, so I might be able to touch. Now, I looked into it in terms of congressional legislation. So if Congress were to, correct me if I'm not answering your question, but I think if Congress were to pass a law, for example, that says XRP is not a security, if they specifically intend the law to apply retroactively, they can do that. So Congress could, yes, in theory, they could do away with the lawsuit with the signature of the pen. An executive order is interesting. And I'm just talking off the top of my head now, but executive orders are very powerful, and the SEC is under the executive branch. So I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say, I think if there was something specific to the case and it was intended to apply retroactively and intended to apply to the Ripple SEC case, then yes, it could absolutely affect what's going on. It could end it.
Because it's just very interesting that they're both sort of around that September time horizon as well. And then we've got the ISO 20022 go live around November. So you've got liquidity really coming in right before, we've got this, we've got some big changes coming. So
well, this is where Brad would say this is the great reset, right? Like where everything's sort of
Is this a coordination?
It's sort of the perfect storm. Like you've got a bunch of different bodies making a bunch of different decisions and everything comes together at the same time. I mean, the executive order to me seems like, yeah, they're going to need some time to coordinate all these different agencies and get everybody on the same page. Now, this is kind of to me, it's kind of it's the horn that kind of sounds everybody to get their act together. So, you've got a bunch of different agencies. It doesn't sound like the SEC actually does have a predominant role in Biden's executive order, from what I read of what the outline.
And this is something that I do want to touch base on, because think about it like this, right? And it's actually over here as well. I've read this today. So with the US dollar's dominance in question, here's how China's yuan could become a global reserve currency. That is, the main focus right now. The U.S. does not want to lose dominancy over these major markets, because if the U.S. dollar's dominance does collapse, then that means that we will no longer have control over the SWIFT network. We will not have control over sanctions and things like that. These nations want to pull out of SWIFT. They want to pull out of a dollar-dominated market. And with all of this in mind, we are trying to streamline regulations within crypto to kind of get ahead of the curve and still remain, again, the world's reserve currency through a digital dollar. Now, The reason why they would want to streamline regulations, and the reason why I bring this video up, is because Congress could essentially end this case tomorrow. I do believe that when we are talking about this settlement, I do, honestly think that when we are looking at September, I believe that September will definitely be the time where we do see a settlement. We will most likely see a settlement by or before September. And the reason why I say that is because everything aligns perfectly with that. And when we are talking about what is happening right now within the economy, the US 100% needs some sort of ledger technology that can power an overall digital currency that could be, the US dollar. And when we are talking about that, it does need to have scalability, sustainability, security, transparency, everything that the XRP ledger does provide. And guess what? We could also issue private CBDCs, which is the biggest key for central banks. They want to make sure that it is a private-based CBDC, and they want to have control over it, and they will be able to have control over it on a private-based ledger. Now, with all of this in mind, we are also seeing, if you've been paying attention the past few weeks, there's a lot of evidence of a bipartisan vibe shift on crypto. Contrary to the media narrative that pushes a polarized split on the issues, here's what I've seen. Last night with Politico plus Grayscale hosted Regulating the Digital Gold Rush. Lots of folks know Loomis's, bona fides on crypto, adding Gillibrand to the mix with the goal of creating a pro-innovation regulation framework is a big deal. And if you guys have been missing it, essentially, the shift behind crypto is at one point in time they wanted to ban it. They thought that crypto was a massive risk, and now we're seeing a shift to adopting this technology. We actually see here crypto is the future. It could enable the poor to make payments and remittances without long delays and high fees, which has been Ripple's main focus for a very long time. It could enable artists and musicians to earn a living. It could challenge the concentrated power of big tech and Wall Street. We do see here there's a healthy legislative bipartisanship in the House too. Last week, Tom Emmer led a group of 4 plus Republicans plus 4 Democrats in sending a letter to the SEC imploring the agency to not stifle innovation by imposing, onerous reporting requirements on crypto companies. And everything has been shifting. I actually have this open over here real quick. Let me grab it for you guys. So I believe it is this one. Yep, here we go. It was actually posted by Michael Saylor. We could actually kind of watch this closely. So, after Biden's crypto, executive order, we're keeping an eye, even closer eye on the federal agencies and regulatory bodies. That's why I was happy to see this reserved but bullish by government standards remark from Secretary Yellen this morning. Listen closely. This is on Squawk Box, by the way, on CNBC. I have a little bit of skepticism. On the other hand, there are benefits from crypto, and we recognize innovation in the payment systems can be a healthy thing. Listen closely.
But in particular, Russia just said that they would accept Bitcoin as a payment for their energy resources. What does that say to you about where we are in the crypto conversation?
Well, crypto is obviously grown by leaps and bounds, and it's now playing a significant role, not really so much in transactions,
right,
but in investment decisions of lots of Americans. And the president just issued a couple of weeks ago an executive order tasking us and other agencies with thinking about the regulation of crypto.
I mean, you're less skeptical about it than in previous. I mean, we've been talking about it together for a long time now, and I think you've had a skepticism about crypto technology.
I have a little bit of skepticism because there are, I think, valid concerns around it. Some have to do with financial stability, consumer investor protection, use for illicit transactions and other things.
Right.
On the other hand, there are benefits from crypto, and we recognize that innovation in the payment system can be a healthy thing. We would like to come out eventually with recommendations that will create a regulatory environment in which healthy innovation
and
can...
then finally...
And I want you guys to realize what is actually happening here. I mean, this is getting very interesting very fast. Everything is moving towards innovation, and the key to making sure that we have a leading role within digital assets. Obviously, this Russia-Ukraine conflict, in my opinion, streamlined the idea of, one, not only adoption but regulations. And I do believe that these agencies are going to have to come together and finally decide on clear-cut regulations within this market. Now, with this in mind, we also see here, have you noticed, what has been happening lately? A lot of crypto skeptics have been changing their tune and launching services. And the news comes as Bitcoin and the market has been moving up in price. This is not a coincidence. It's by design. 2-3, we have heard within the past week, Ray Dalio's fund looking to invest in crypto. Goldman Sachs conducts first crypto OTC trade. BlackRock to launch crypto services. Wall Street firm Cohen launches crypto trading and more. Remember when Ray Dalio, Goldman, and BlackRock's Larry Fink were, trashing crypto? They have accumulated and are ready to pump their bags. Same story, different asset class. I hope your eyes are open to how the game is played. Not only this, but also, I said the shift from banning crypto to adopting crypto is happening rapidly because things right now are evolving greatly within this market. And I want you all to have your eyes open to the idea that at the end of the day, with one, swipe of the pen, this entire SEC case can be over. Okay? And we even seen that, I look forward to the DCC joining the fight versus the SEC's overreach in the Ripple case. The DCC filed an, amicus brief in Telegram, a pure ICO case. In the XRP case, the SEC attacks the token itself, independent of Ripple. Here's Perian DC, and the DCC's involvement is welcomed. Now, I want you guys to all know that when we are talking about Perian DC, in the past, October 8th, 2020, we've seen XRP is not a security. And we did see, agreed, Perian DC. So why have you refused to speak on this subject since this tweet of yours, which was 2 months before the SEC case against Ripple was announced? Did you know something then that we didn't know now? We do see, we're submitting a brief and cannot comment until the brief is filed. You're 15 minutes late. It's nearly over. Nobody's falling for this fake attempt at remaining relevant. The issue here is the idea that, the DCC is joining the fight. I mean, it is welcomed overall. But it is, interesting to say the least that they are getting in on this now. I think that everyone's trying to support the clear-cut and dry winner. I think that these individuals know that Ripple is winning this case. I think that they know that Ripple is essentially going to win. So I think that they're kind of joining in the fight to get, behind, again, this technology because they know that at the end of the day, they can't really lose. We need to be very careful not to regulate out of fear of the unknown and ensure that we are preserving the United States' dominance in this industry. Listen closely to this.
So Chair Powell was alluding to stablecoin regulations. That was a big part of his talk, was around central bank digital currencies and privately issued stablecoins. One of the things that he is concerned about, that he mentioned in his panel discussion yesterday, is systemic risk. Now let's just maybe take a step back and talk about systemic risk. Generally, this comes from liquidity issues, leverage issues, or operational issues. US-based stablecoin projects are the largest ones, are fully backed one-to-one by cash equivalents, and treasuries. So there are no liquidity issues in the largest US-based stablecoin projects. Further, there is no leverage. So we need to be very careful not to regulate out of fear of the unknown and ensure that we are preserving the United States dominance.
And the issue here, or I should say the biggest key here, is to preserve the United States dominance. How are they going to do that? All right, we are falling way behind in terms of the digital race. So now they have no choice, in my opinion at least, to adopt something like Ripple. Now, I know everyone that's watching this video is about to comment. They're going to go and smash their keyboard saying, what do you mean? Why would they have to adopt crypto or Ripple, sorry? Think about it like this. Okay, what Ripple has built with XRP, the on-demand liquidity service, right? Like, that was not built overnight. All right, these things take a lot of time. But we do know that on-demand liquidity is here now. We know that XRP's potential is here now. The power of XRP here is now. RippleNet has been built. It took decades, or I shouldn't say decades, it took over a decade, sorry, for this to be built. So if the US actually wants to get ahead of the curve, they need something that's already live, that's already working, that's already proven to be working. What other choice is there besides RippleNet that has 300 plus financial institutions, banks, massive players that have already tested, utilized, and are utilizing this technology now with clear cut and dry evidence that it does work in massive potential and power. What other technology is there? This is exactly why everything has been centered around regulations. This is why everything is focused on crypto now. We are seeing major players joining in on crypto that were, trashing it in the past. It's clear to me more than ever before that they need this technology. They need to get ahead of the curve. Because guess what? Although that all of the signs were on the US, everyone was focused on the US in terms of XRP's lawsuit. They said, oh, XRP's dead, it's killed because the US is going after XRP. No, not at all. These other nations have the power to utilize all of this technology. They are seeing the XRP adoption. XRP, I know, is not the same as Ripple, but we know that with XRP combined with RippleNet, these other nations are achieving massive heights in terms of the financial revolution, and the US is seeing that. We are falling way behind in terms of dominance with the world reserve currency, aka the dollar. The dollar is losing its power and value day in and day out, and we need to adopt this technology or else we will fall way behind. The digital yuan is absolutely killing it. China is absolutely killing it. We have been seeing massive moves towards, of course, a new world reserve currency. And that is why the US is so urgent to get ahead of the curve. So with that being said, I hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe to notifications on if you guys want more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. As always, up to you all. Have a beautiful day or a beautiful night wherever you guys are in this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.